Welcome students to the next class on social control. Youngsters like you always want to be free. You never want to be controlled by any force in the society, but still all of us are controlled by some indirect forces in the society. That is what we are going to study in this class. First, I will explain to you the definition of social control, then the objectives, purposes and functions of social control. Then I will explain to you different means and types of social control. Socialization plays an essential role in the formation of personality. It is only through the process of socialization the individuals learn the norms, values and cultural standards of the social groups to which they belong. This indicates that individuals generally accept the group norms. That is the reason why people feel guilty when they tell a lie or disobey elders. However, these internalized norms do not always work out and deviations do occur. In such conditions, society enforces some kind of control over the people. Social control is the process of enforcing conformity. It is the mechanism adopted by the social groups to make its members conform to its norms. Social control is enforced through sanctions which are rewards or punishments, that is, sanction may be positive or negative. Positive sanctions could be a pat on the shoulder, appreciation or a material reward. Negative sanctions vary from strong public criticism to imprisonment. The term social control implies a system of devices through which society controls the activities of individual members. The concept was first dealt by American sociologist E. A. Ross in his book entitled Social Control. He had stated that individuals have deep rooted sentiments like sympathy, sociality and a sense of justice that help to cooperate with the other fellow members to work for social welfare. But these sentiments are not enough to suppress the pleasure seeking impulses of man. Hence, the society has to make use of certain mechanisms in order to accomplish necessary social order or discipline. Now, we will see some definitions of social control. Ogburn and Nimkoff defined social control as the patterns of pressure which a society exerts to maintain order and establish rules. According to Ruzek, social control is a collective term used for those processes, planned or unplanned, by which individuals are taught, persuaded or compelled to conform to the usages and life values of groups. G. H. Lundberg has said that social control refers to those social behaviors which influence individuals or groups towards conformity to established or desired norms. Parsons has defined social control as the process by which deviant behavior is counteracted and social stability is maintained through the imposition of sanctions. Now, I will explain to you the objectives of social control. Kimball Young in 1942 listed out the aims of social control as to bring about conformity, solidarity and continuity of a particular group or society. On the basis of his explanations, the main objectives of social control can be presented. 1. Social control tries to regulate the individual behavior and prevent clash in the society. 2. It maintains and re-establishes the social order. 3. Social control is found to establish unity and solidarity among the members of the society. 4. It helps to ensure the continuity of the group or the society as a whole. 5. Social control ensures conformity of members to the group expectations. 6. It brings deviant members back to the line. 7. Social control aims to prevent cultural and social disintegration. What are the purposes of social control? I will explain it to you now. The term social control itself indicates its purpose of regulating the people's behavior within society. Kimball Young has mentioned 3 purposes of social control. They are as follows. 1. The main purpose of social control is to bring about social conformity. The societies are becoming very complex in nature nowadays. Because of the multi-group life and cultural influences and also new identities, the individual's behavior pattern is also becoming complicated. The individual differences in behavior may not be always helpful to maintain peace. It may cross limits of toleration and social life needs security. For the sake of this, the society needs to adopt the mechanism of social control to restore social conformity. 2. Social control brings solidarity. In a complex society, opportunities for the weaker groups to be exploited by the stronger groups are many. This may even result in some groups to involve in clash and develop antisocial attitudes, which will spoil peace and order. In this regard, society needs to adopt social control in order to create a feeling of identity and solidarity in the minds of the people. 3. Social control assures the continuity of society. Secondary groups with different kinds of interests exist in the present society. There are chances for clash of interests that might result in chaos. New values might emerge that will disturb the older ones. Hence, social control is used in the form of cultural values for the perpetuation of society. Next is the functions of social control. The first one is it forces persons or the citizens to obey social decisions. 2. It maintains the equilibrium and stability of the society. 3. It helps in proper socialization of the individuals. 4th, it helps in performing social roles. 5. Social control helps in mitigating tensions and conflicts among members. Social control also operates at 3 levels. 1. Group over group. Secondly, group over its members. Thirdly, individual over their fellow members. Social control occurs on all levels of society, that is in the family, in the peer groups, in bureaucratic organizations, and also in the government of every society. What are the means of social control? Society adopts certain means or methods to control its members. The means of social control may be grouped into 2 categories. They are as follows. The first one is institutional and the second one is non-institutional. First, I will explain to you the institutional means of social control. The institutional means of social control are political institutions like state, law and government. Religion is also an institutional form of social control. Marriage, family, education, social classes are also examples of institutional form of social control. The second one is non-institutional means of social control. The non-institutional means of social control are: 1. Ideologies, legends and myths. 2. Beliefs, ceremonies and rituals. 3. Art and literature. 4. Folkways, customs and mores. 5. Leadership. 6. Violence and terror. 7. Social suggestions that include conversions, traditions, symbols, fashion, craze and also public opinion. Next, I will explain to you the types of social control. I have been explained to you 2 types of social control. One is institutional and the other one is non-institutional, for which I have given you some examples. In the case of institutional means of social control, we included religion, marriage, family and education. This kind of social control takes place in an informal way and also in a very subtle manner. We do not even realize that we are adhering to certain norms and customs of the society. For example, how to perform a marriage, how to select the mate and also how to do certain rituals under certain religious functions. All these things are handed over to us from the previous generation. We do it without knowing why we are doing it. In the case of political institutions, there are written codes of law which we are forced to adhere. The second one that we call as non-institutional means is slightly different. The type of control that takes place is very subtle and very indirect, in the sense we believe in certain things. we are socialized in a particular fashion, that we are very strongly launched in certain type of beliefs. So, we call it non-institutional. Then in the case of leadership, as we know, the leader enforces certain expectations very boldly on the members, so that members do not deviate, and therefore, the conformity is maintained. You may think why we call violence and also terror as a form of social control. Yes, sometimes violence and terror are also serve as a form of social control. For instance, if the government is enforcing certain kind of law for which people are not ready, then there will be agitation and aggression in the society, by way of which the government or the local body will understand that people are not for it. So, this also serves as a form of social control. So, we have seen two types, the institutional means and non-institutional means of social control. Next, I will explain to you the types of social control. Society makes use of various means of social control based on the time and social situations for the realization of its purposes. Two types of social control exist in all societies. These are formal control and informal control. What is formal control? Formal social control refers to officially established means of enforcing conformity. Serious crimes against persons or property issues, problems pertaining to environment protection and buildings are dealt by the state in the form of legislations. In bigger organizations, written code of procedure is prepared, passed and are governed by an apex body. The society makes use of law, legislation, military force, police force, administrative devices, etc., for the purpose of social control. Formal control is deliberately created for the smooth functioning of the society. Those who violate the rules and regulations of the society will be punished. The punishment depends upon the nature and type of violation. The second type is informal control. Informal control is often found to be effective than the formal control, even though there is no direct punishment for the violators. Informal control includes public opinion, sympathy, sense of justice, folkways, mores, customs, religion, morality and such other agents. These are not purposefully created. Informal control is found to be more effective in primary social groups like family, neighborhood and community, where interaction take place on a personal basis. Primary groups survive only on informal control systems like gesture, reproach, criticism or even silence. These devices become less effective when the society becomes larger and complex. Hence, informal controls have given way to the formal methods in order to maintain social harmony, solidarity, order and discipline. There is a vast difference between the formal and informal methods of social control. In the case of formal social control, the rules and regulations are mostly in the form of written code of law, and if the individuals fail to adhere to it, it will be followed by severe punishment, irrespective of who the person is. In the case of informal control, even a gesture will control the behavior of the child or the student. The student knows that he has to keep quiet if the teacher frowns. The child knows he has to behave differently if the mother frowns at him. So, even a very simple things like frowning or a small criticism or a small public opinion will make the person conform to the expectations of his fellow beings. That is the main difference between the formal and informal methods of social control. Well, students, till now I have been explaining to you the concept of social control. First, I explained the concept itself, then I gave you some definitions of social control, then there was the explanation on the objectives and the purpose of social control. Next, I explained the functions and the means of social control. In the last part, I elaborated two types of social control. Now, I want to ask you few questions. The first question: what is social control? What are the basic types of social control? 2. Differentiate between institutional and non-institutional forms of social control. Okay, students, so far I have been explaining the basic part of social control, and you may be wondering what are the different types that control our behavior in our social life. In the next class, I will explain specific forms of social control like law, religion and also other forms elaborately, so that you will understand it more clearly. Till then, bye.